and everything. Morning. Driveway mark. One of the main reasons why I got the Salsa Warbird was I needed a bike that was a little more capable, something that really could do it all. So that meant that it had to be able to do something as small as a 30K loop, but it also needed to be able to take me on my first ever bikepacking trip. And this is that story of my first ever bikepacking trip, underbiked or underprepared biking trip. Now, in order to properly tell this story, I've got to take you way back to when I first saw Paulo LaBerge's Instagram account. He's got some incredibly inspiring photos of bikepacking trips that he's taken across the world. He's been all over the place, from Costa Rica to Africa to back to Costa Rica and all over Ontario. So when I finally got the chance to go on a trip with him up to Red Lake when we did the Ice Road Challenge, I made sure to mention that if he had any upcoming bikepacking trips in Ontario, to maybe give me a shout. So months later, I'm sitting at home scrolling Instagram as I normally do, and a video chat pops up, and it's Paulo. Paulo, what's going on?
Yeah, how's it rolling, man? Now, so I've been doing some bikepacking locally, and I'm establishing this route near Muskoka, or in Muskoka area, and so I'm planning another ride, and I want you to come, because I remember that you said you wanted to join me on one of these little adventures. So I was thinking, you know what, I think this one's going to be good for Josh. It's going to be gravel roads, but some rough sections and whatnot, but it's got to be a little adventure involved, right?
Cool. Yeah, I'm totally in. So what, I guess, like, what kind of stuff do I actually need to bring?
Oh, well, I'm sure that our friends might have stuff. Like, I have stuff I can lend you, but, what about, like, a frame bag for your bike, the seat pack, the front roll, I don't know, you have a little tent, a little sleeping bag, it doesn't have... All right, so now that you're all caught up, we met at a parking lot full of logging equipment, we unloaded our bikes, we got all of our gear out of the trucks and cars, and I spent the next hour trying to figure out how to mount my bags onto my bike, how to pack my poles, tent, mats, pillow, food, extra clothing, bathing suit, all of the extra things that I would need for just one overnight trip, and it was hard. Once I finally got myself all arranged, rearranged, and what I thought was really set up, we got about a half an hour down one of the logging roads, and my bags were falling off my bike again. That was great. Oh man, come on. Oh yeah. I think it's my camera. Let's see.
You've got a couple inches clearance here now. Your poles are in here?
Yeah.
Oh, bulls. I heard bulls are there.
All right.
Yeah. Actually,
They're like, you have no idea what you're doing, let us do it. All right, so clearly this is my first bikepacking trip. I have got two surgeons in the bikepacking industry working on my bike right now. Oh man. So I did a great job, they're just improving on it.
Yeah, you did awesome.
And I was very clear in the Facebook conversation about that, just so everyone had a heads up.
The funny one was like, oh, by the way, guys, I have no bags for my bike.
Well, I'm John Duffett. I am 40 this year. I am a mechanical engineer. I work for 9.8.
My name is Mark Sinclair. I'm 29. I work for 9.8.
dropper post manufacturer out of Ancaster.
Jamie Montpellier, 41 years old, vice principal, getting into bikepacking a few years back.
Hey, I'm Paulo. I'm 40 years old, and I'm operations manager at a bike shop, photographer, and a bike nerd.
I'm Josh White, I'm 31, and I'm a filmmaker.
So this route around Big Wind Provincial Park near Muskoka originally was brought to my attention from an old friend of mine who lives in Muskoka. He thought it would be an amazing place to go and explore, and there's so many cool little lakes there, nice pristine forest. And so we went and did a loop that he had prepared, and then I thought, you know what, after doing it with him, I realized there was so much more to explore in the area. So I kept digging away at like developing this route bigger and bigger, and going there even a third time, then I knew the area really well, but I could still even find some new trails and new terrain, beautiful like landscapes that I just had to share with my friends.
I've been wanting to run fork-mounted bottle cages for a while, but the Trek Stash doesn't have provisions for bolt-on fork-mounted bottle cages. So I'd done previous trips where I just tied standard bottle cages to my fork. I wasn't really happy how that worked, so I just spent some time designing my own little fork-mounted bottle cage, 3D printed it, used some zip ties, an inner tube on the fork, and it worked flawless during the trip, which was a maiden voyage, so I was really happy with how that worked out. So that was my favorite bit of kit, and it's not that exciting, but I guess to me, because I spent some effort into it, it was exciting. I don't have any custom frame bags for it, so I run water bottle cages in the front triangle, so I actually didn't have much real estate for storing gear. So I had to run a backpack, a Camelback or Osprey, I think. I don't like doing that. It's a lot of weight on your back, especially when you're spending a lot of time in the saddle. It can really wear you down.
I thought it might have been your dropper post that you kept forgetting to not drop.
Yeah, that's funny. It's funny how you forget. Yeah, so I have a dropper post on that bike, and I actually have a dropper post specific bag, but it's funny because of the washboard trails we were going on, the bag would loosen off on the seat, and I would always remember to actually put on my dropper because that's how I mountain bike. So whenever I go down and descend, I would push down my dropper post, and it would actually, the bag would get chewed up in the rear wheel. I wouldn't have the clearance, so it was hilarious. So everyone would turn back and look at me because they'd hear this grinding bag sound as we go down any sort of descent. Yeah, thanks for reminding me that.
Whoa, that's deeper than I thought too. Oh yeah. Oh, look at that.
It's good to have multiple photographers,
For sure.
because I would go by and look at that and say like, oh, that's kind of nice. I'm not going to stop.
Yeah, so I've done about 3 bikepacking trips so far. I mean, the toughest, certainly the longest, was across Newfoundland. We went, my brother and my dad and I, we went across Newfoundland on the old rail bed. So that was 10 or 11 days, I think. So on the back, I'm running a rack on the back with sort of small, soft Arkel pannier bags. They're kind of like glorified dry bags. They don't have any structure to them. Those I found work really well to kind of stuff whatever you want in there and be dry. And then just a dry bag strapped to the rack.
How was that climb?
I needs some resupply.
It was like kind of like childish, like playing in the mud, because it's like firm mud. Like it's not.
There's a couple of, it's hard to tell sometimes.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
You look at those
Yeah.
spots and you're like,
Yeah.
it's got that smoothness to it and the slight darkness, and you're like, is it going to sink in 3 inches or 3/8 of an inch?
Yeah. Or 3 feet. Oh boy.
Hi Josh, how are you doing?
I'm realizing that I'm underbiked.
Yeah.
My tires are a little skinny.
All right.
Because I thought even in this stuff I'd be doing better blowing by you guys, but I'm still sinking into the sand that is the road.
I haven't seen you frown yet, so that's always good. I wouldn't drink from your water bottle though, unfortunately.
Oh, that's good. Just a little dusting.
Yeah, that's right. Just your, all your minerals. Big shout out to Salsa on the Warbird. Also works as a full-on bikepacking mountain bike.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how the next day goes. Still pretty loose gravel here. It's very sandy. Oh, it's gorgeous.
I think when Paulo had kind of threw at me, he's like, hey, we're gonna do something similar as last time, but more, we're gonna stick to more of the gravel roads. And I said, oh, all right. So and I asked him, are you gonna take the mountain bike? Or he's like, oh, I'm gonna try the Kona Sutra. And I have the same bike. Basically said to myself, let's try drop bar. And I have a low geared setup on it. So I said, you know, even if the hills are, I knew what to expect, so I figured, hey, worst case scenario, I'll jump off the bike and walk the hills. So, but it actually worked out great, and it was actually the right bike for that section, because the fat bike was, I would say, just a lot more work once we got out of the thick stuff. So I was happy with my choice.
Oh, so it's like right here.
I think it's kind of like a spot where people would portage to, but it does have markings for like a campsite and 50 tents and like 6 people.
Well, I think Paulo had an unfair advantage because he knew this route and he had been on it before, and I couldn't tell if he was pulling my leg or not. But we did some. We kept trying to find a site, and we couldn't find anything. The day was kind of dragging on. Me being a single speeder, I was starting to get kind of cranky about just trying to find a spot. I think we're all getting pretty hungry, and because it's Crown Land, we'd come up to a couple spots that we thought were good ones and they'd be taken, so we'd keep exploring. Then we went bushwhacking for a bit, or I guess it was more like a walking single track path with down trees. It was actually quite a bit of fun to ride, and we had no idea where this is going. And so we just kept going down this path. We saw a spot that looked remotely clear, like a clearing, like it would have worked for us. And I was like, hey, this is it. This is where we're going. Like, I don't want to gamble. Let's not keep going. And Paulo, he was confident that there's something down the trail. So I don't know if he knew about this or not, but he was confident something was down the trail. So we kept going down the trail. We went over a sweet ladder bridge, makeshift bridge thing.
Oh, that already hasn't started well.
That sucks.
I didn't know that there was another site. I have a tendency to push my friends a little bit because I got that explore bug in me, and I risked it, I guess. I was like, oh, there's gotta be something. There's gotta be somewhere, you know, like, screw it. If we gotta like wild camp and like clear a little area in the woods, then so be it.
And then right on the other side of that was this glorious sight, like amazing sight, access to a beautiful lake, like phenomenal. So just imagine that we just stopped where that first spot where I suggested. It would have been such a different experience.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That is what I came here for. This is it, buddy. I always say this is better than any spa. What? You have 3 cans of beer? What? What? He has beer.
I have beer.
Well, I really enjoyed the setup. It was just nice after we got our swims in, you know, you're setting up camp and just happy overall to just end the day that way and, you know, catching the sunset. And, you know, then John, just out of nowhere, we're thinking like, you know, this would be so great with a nice cold beer. And then John whips out these cans of beers and I'm thinking, how does this guy handle this? Carrying all that weight for us, and then finally he just shared a nice round with us, and I think that put the icing on the cake for that fire.
Got that. I'm so exhausted.
You know, you sitting down and exchanging menus, basically what you'll be eating, and you know what? Everything tastes so delicious at the end of the night because, you know, you worked your butt off all day, you know, climbing those hills, going through that heat, and no, it was a really special night and easy to, you know, get along with everybody that was there. It was a good vibe overall.
Yeah. I feel like they'd like robustness, right?
Yeah, so have I. I've always gone back to them.
Look at this.
Oh no.
Oh.
There she comes.
Yeah.
They're rolling. Was that worth it?
It was. Nice.
Photographer's always in the back.
Sometimes, you know, people are like, oh, you always have your camera out, like you're not getting to like feel and experience the moment because you're busy taking photos. But you know what? I've been taking photos for so long that I can feel the moment and then I can relive them later when I review all my photos. It's like, oh, I remember that time. I remember that time when, and I look at the photo and then the whole story plays in my head of like what happened when I took that picture.
Whoa, hey, oh.
You know, when the end of the ride's coming and you can see where you parked or, you know, where the end point is, I get mixed emotions. Like I feel happy that I've like, yeah, we finished this. This was awesome.
This is a new one for me. Bridges running woods lengthwise.
Oh, I'm jammed
In there.
But I also get this like sad feeling. It's like, you know, I wish it wasn't finished. I wish there was like another day to do more, and then another day, like more time, and to continue doing this like fun adventure. Especially when you're with like such a fun group. It's like, you know, too bad we don't have like another day to do this.
Great ride. Thanks for the invite. Oh. We go single speed there.
Last section wasn't heavy.
It started to get more rolly, like it wasn't quite as aggressive.
The climbs weren't stupid.
Oh yeah, great ride.
So yeah, you can advertise.
Oh no!
Oh shit!
Swamp. None of this wetness is from rain today. That's the best part. This thing is like 5 pounds heavier.
Just nothing. Just an anniversary. If I want to have more anniversaries, I gotta.
Yeah, that's great mean.
Alright, so that was my first ever bikepacking experience. And if you'd ask me now if I'd put myself through that again, 100%. Would I put myself through that again on the same bike? In those conditions, probably not. No, never again, actually. Those bikes that the other guys had were definitely made for riding in the terrain that we were riding on, ATV trails, essentially mountain bike trails, whereas my little 42C tire did great once we finally hit the roads, but for most of that riding, I think the next time I'd get a mountain bike if I was going to be mountain biking. Now that it's December and we're in winter, I'm left thinking, where's the next trip going to be? Where's the next adventure going to be? What I can tell you is that I've been staring at bikepacking routes through Ontario, some a little more subtle, looking more at like rail trail paths and country roads, which the Warbird is definitely made for, munching long miles in the saddle, things like that I'm just so stoked to try next year. But in terms of this trip, I can't thank the guys enough. So John, Mark, Paulo, and Jamie, thanks so much for having me along. A complete newbie to bikepacking. I had such an amazing time. And I think that you can tell from the video that it's a different style of riding, and one that really gives you that sense of adventure that's maybe a little lower risk for those people like me that get injured quite a bit mountain biking. It changes up the sport quite a bit for myself. So as always, if you liked this video, if you liked watching me struggle through this experience but having a blast doing it, I'm working on new content, and subscribe if you haven't, and be that person who gets me to 666. I'm sitting at 665 right now. Let's go evil. Stay wild, guys.
Oh, look at that. We do that on a gravel bike?
Yeah, buddy. Okay.
Oh.